You had a normal conversation 3 days ago, a short one, maybe 5 minutes at the coffee machine, or a quick call with someone you love, or a meeting that ended without incident, and yet here you are, still inside it, still turning one sentence over in your mind like a stone you can't put down, still wondering what they meant by that pause, still rewriting your own response, this time better, this time softer, this time closer to what you actually felt. You are not doing this because you are anxious. You are not doing this because you are insecure. You are doing this because your mind processes conversation the way other people process grief, slowly, in layers, and often long after the moment has ended. There is a name for what you are doing, and once you understand it, the replay may not stop entirely, but the shame around it can. Let's call it what it is: post-conversational processing, not overthinking, not rumination in the clinical sense, something quieter and more specific. It is the way an INFJ mind continues a conversation long after the other person has walked away, because for you, the conversation was never only about the words. You were tracking tone, micro expressions, the half-second delay before they answered, the way their eyes moved when you said the thing you weren't sure you should say, the energy in the room before you spoke, and the energy after. You were reading 5 channels at once while pretending to read only one. And when the conversation ended, all of that data was still inside you, unprocessed, waiting. The psychologist Daniel Batson, whose research on empathy shaped decades of thinking about how humans understand each other, described something called affective simulation. It is the way an empathic person doesn't just hear another person's words. They internally simulate what it feels like to be that person in that moment. You don't just listen. You become, briefly, the other person. And then you return to yourself carrying the residue. Now imagine doing that for every meaningful interaction of your day. Imagine every conversation leaving a small echo of another person inside you. That is what your nervous system is doing. That is why silence, later, is not empty. It is full of everyone you spoke to. And this is where the replay begins. Because your dominant cognitive function, what Carl Jung called introverted intuition, does not process in real time. It processes in retrospect, and it doesn't finish a thought during the conversation. It starts one. It gathers and gathers and gathers, and then, hours or days later, when you are folding laundry or driving home or lying in bed, it delivers the meaning. Suddenly, you understand what they really meant. Suddenly, you see the pattern in what they said. Suddenly, you know, with a strange, quiet certainty, that something in that conversation mattered more than either of you realized in the moment. This is not a flaw in your design. This is your design working exactly as it was built to work. But there is a cost, and you know the cost because you are living it. The cost is that you carry conversations longer than the people you had them with. The other person has moved on. They are watching a show, cooking dinner, laughing at something on their phone, and you are still replaying the moment when you said, "It's fine," and wondering if they could tell it wasn't fine, still wondering if you were too much or not enough or the wrong version of yourself. Here is what I want you to hear. The replay is not you being obsessed with yourself. The replay is you being deeply invested in accuracy, in understanding what actually happened. in being fair to the other person and fair to yourself, in not letting a moment pass without extracting its meaning. That is a form of respect for the conversation, for the person, for the truth of what passed between you. But respect that turns inward without release becomes weight. The neuroscientist Antonio Damasio, whose work on somatic markers changed how we understand decision making, found that emotions are not separate from thought. They are the ground thought stands on. Every conversation you have leaves a somatic trace, a feeling in the body that your mind then reaches back to again and again, trying to decode. When you replay a conversation, you are not really replaying words. You are replaying a feeling. The small tightness in your chest when they said that thing, the flicker of confusion when their tone changed, the quiet unease you couldn't name in the moment. Your body noticed something, and your mind, days later, is still trying to give it language. This is why the replay isn't logical. You can't think your way out of it, because it isn't a thinking problem. It is a feeling looking for its name. And this is also why the replay often ends the moment you finally understand what you felt, not what they meant, not what you should have said, what you felt. That is usually the piece the loop was waiting for. So let me offer you something, not a solution, not a technique, just a small reframe. The next time you find yourself 3 days deep inside a 5-minute conversation, try asking a different question. Not what did they mean? Not what should I have said? But this, what did my body feel in that moment that I didn't have time to feel then? Because the replay is almost always your system trying to finish something it wasn't allowed to finish in real time. You were too busy tracking them to feel yourself, and now, in the quiet, your feelings are asking to be heard. Listen to them the way you would listen to a close friend, not to fix, not to explain, just to witness. And know this, the fact that you replay conversations does not mean you are anxious or insecure or bad at socializing. It means you are processing at a depth most people never reach. It means you are unwilling to let a moment pass without meaning. It means you are the kind of person who takes other people seriously. Sometimes, honestly, more seriously than they take themselves. That is not something to fix. That is something to honor. Your system works the way it does, and it doesn't need fixing. It needs understanding. It needs pace. It needs quiet evenings like this one, where the noise of the day can finally settle, and the meaning can rise to the surface on its own time. There is no rush here. There is no version of you that processes faster and is therefore better. There is only you, moving at an inner pace, gathering meaning in the slow way. Deep minds gather meaning. If the replay comes tonight, let it come. But this time, instead of asking what you did wrong, ask what your body felt. Ask what your mind is trying to hand you. Ask what the conversation was really about underneath the words. And then, when the meaning arrives, and it will arrive, let it be enough. You don't have to go back and fix the conversation. You only have to receive what it was trying to teach you. If this made sense to you, if it named something you have carried for a long time without a word for it, you are welcome to stay. This channel exists for exactly this. Slow, reflective conversations for minds that move inward before they move forward. Quiet place for deep minds